our speaker today, who is Andriana Korasidi from National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. And Andriana is a PhD student at the University of Athens. She's also a member and a research assistant in the computational linguistics lab, and she takes interest in forensic linguistics, which you will see very soon in her talk. And this research that she will be presenting to us today is done in collaboration with George Mikros, who is also here present, and it will. And the talk will address the problems of authorship detection and gender identification in fake proclamations using stylometry. And I have to say, I think it's the first time we've had forensic linguistics in our DH lunches, so this is a very exciting moment for us. We are also very happy that we can have Andriana with us now for these 2 weeks. Thanks to the short-term scientific mission funding from the post-action distant reading, which once again allows us to host wonderful scholars with us. So Andriana, I pass the voice to you, and I hope everybody enjoys the talk. And feel free to ask your questions either in the chat or in person after the talk.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much actually for having me here and giving me the opportunity to participate in such a great initiative and be a part of your amazing team. I really thank you for the introduction, but I also thank you for everything I've learned while being here and staying with you in Kraków. Yes, actually, today we are about to deal with a forensic linguistics problem, which is actually also a non-foreign gender identification problem concerning the fake proclamations of the Greek Revolutionary Organization 17 November. I'm moving to slide number 2, I think problemless. And I was talking about forensic authorship analysis, which is actually considered to be a part of forensic linguistics that is actually a subfield of applied linguistics. And it consists of inferring the authorship of a document by extracting and analyzing the writing features from the document content. So during the last 2 or 3 decades, forensic authorship analysis for prosecuting terrorists or pedophiles or spammers in the court of law has received great attention in several studies and has gained the interest of many new scientists, and it's been growing actually in prominence. So concerning the terrorist language, we could say that there are a lot of recent advancements in natural language processing that make empirical research focused on the terrorist argument feasible. And when dealing with the Greek case, we have to say that there have been some corpus-based techniques that are applied in purposes of authorship identification. For example, Katerina Fragi from the University of Athens has already studied some verbal but also written imprints of the same group as we are facing today. And of course, there have been some efforts of detection of hate speech and threatening communication within the terrorist arguments, and the comparison of related means, ideology, and people by the implementation of text mining clustering techniques, all performed by Lekea. So I would like to say a few things about terrorism in Greece so that you can all get and understand the context. Well, terrorism in Greece is mainly committed by far-left revolutionary organizations and anarchist groups, but that doesn't mean that we don't have right-wing organizations whose speech is yet something to investigate. It's quite prolific. There are numerous proclamations, numerous manifestos and communiques, most of which express the ideas of the organizations. In those proclamations, the groups claim responsibility for their actions. They even provide their political, their theoretical ideas. And of course, it's also a long life phenomenon. Most of the groups are active for more than 10 or 15 years in most of the cases. So when we are talking about Greek terrorist texts, then we are referring to multi-page notices that are usually left at the place of the attack, or they are sent to the media. Sometimes they are placed in rubbish bins, and media are notified to receive them. And they are either sent following an action by the organization, usually on the same day of the act, or they are sent without any prior action being taken in response to press reports, to newspaper articles, to other public persons in Greece, etc. So today we'll speak about one of the most notorious and actually well-known Greek terrorist groups with the name Revolutionary Organization 17 November. This group actually is a far-left militant organization that was formed in 1975, and they conducted terrorist attacks in Greece for almost 27 years. There's been a huge public discussion about them. There are even conspiracy theories. Many have claimed that 17 November is like a project of foreign secret services and so on. So as you can imagine, part of our political tradition back in Greece. The members have actually led an extensive urban guerrilla campaign against the Greek state, against Greek banks, businesses, as well as American, Turkish, and British targets. And they've committed more than 100 armed robberies, assassinations, bombing attacks, during which 23 people were killed. Mostly political targets, police officers, but there were also people who were accidentally shot to death. And the group disbanded in 2002, and then a major number of arrests followed the dismantling of the group. They actually have recognized 84 proclamations as genuine. These proclamations were published mostly in newspapers. And as I said before, it's actually a guide to their political ideas. So after their arrest in 2002, Dimitris Koufodinas, who is actually one of the main members of the team, and he has recently received intense media attention due to the fact that he decided to go on a hunger strike for a jail transfer. He denied the authenticity of 8 proclamations, 6 of which he tagged as a secret services project. Well, actually, the thing is that these proclamations cultivated a climate of division, and they're considered to be fake by main team members, even if the prosecution authorities characterize them as genuine, at least regarding the writing style. So on one hand, we have this issue, and on the other hand, we have the obscure contribution of women to 17 November, because a lot of members of the group remain anonymous till today, and actually the participation of 4 women connected to main members of the group has not yet been uncovered. So in this study, actually, we aim to apply advanced computational stylistic methods to the corpus of 17 November proclamations and explore whether the fake ones do differentiate significantly from the rest, and then investigate whether the fake proclamations behave like a homogeneous cluster of stylistic similar documents, or if they display a fragmented stylometric profile. And in order to investigate the role of women in 17 November, we will perform gender identification methods. So let's move to the first part of our study that has to do with those 8 disputed manifestos. So, as you can see here, I've cited an excerpt from the unofficial records of 17 November trial that was held in 2003. Dimitris Koufodinas has here a conversation with Nikolaos Zairis. Nikolaos Zairis is actually the vice president of the Supreme Court Cassation back in Greece. So he's referring to these proclamations and he says, I do not dispute it. I just tell you, I don't remember. I had sent a letter to the publisher of Cactus. Let me say in passing that Cactus refers to the publications that actually published the whole work of 17 November. And I had made it clear regarding which ones belong to the organization, which ones are fake, and which ones were not written by the organization. So Nikolaos Zairis answers back and he says, well, the proclamations you have accepted a collective work, or was it a single author work? And Dimitris Koufodinas replies back that the proclamations of 17 November, as well as in all the revolutionary organizations, from what I can tell, are a product of collective work, collective reflection, and contribution of the views of all members, which actually brings up the matter of collaborative work when coming to this text, which is quite difficult to investigate from a stylometric point of view. So this is the whole letter of Koufodinas to the director of Cactus Publications. I will try to be as fast as I can. In your book entitled The Proclamations of 1975-2002, or the text of 17 November Organization, among the original texts of the organization are also published 6 proclamations written by secret services for obvious reasons. Although as a rule, regarding the proclamations of the organization which follow in time, for each fake there is a relevant complaint, by using the uniform numbering and the specific titles, you treat them as genuine. These are numbers 50, 52, 58, 60, 61, 63, and also in the last pages of the book, 2 more proclamations are published which were not written by members of 17 November, the proclamations with numbers 83 and 84. If you respect the title of your book, that would require that these proclamations should be included in a separated annex to avoid any confusion, and I hope you will do so in any new edition. Yours sincerely, Dimitris Koufodinas. So that's why our data set is consisted of the proclamations and announcements that were published by the members of 17 November. And they are separated in 3 broad categories. First of all, we have replies to journalists, to newspaper articles and public persons in Greece. We have texts where group members accept the responsibility for various terrorist actions such as murders, bombings, and attacks. And last but not least, we have position papers that they are actually related to the ideology of the group, in which members try to justify their acts or comment on current socio-economical and political issues. So this is the list of the disputed proclamations. Nevertheless, there should be a clear discrimination between the first 6 and the last 2, as the ones written in 2002, they are all after the dismantling of the team and the organization, and they are all after a major number of arrests, including the main author of the group, whose name is Alexandros Giotopoulos. So regarding the first 6, as you can see here, they were all written during this time period between 1991, and they refer to an attempt against Turkish diplomats. Well, yes, actually in 1991, there's been an assassination of 2 Turkish diplomats, which is actually very suspicious because those killings had then given rise to Turkey launching from time to time strong accusations against Greece for aiding and covering up terrorist groups. And later, there is an Armenian organization called Asala who took the responsibility of these murders. So this already, I don't know, creates some suspicious thoughts about the role of those documents. So regarding the first 6, Dimitris Kofodinas referred to an attempt of manipulation made of secret services in order to purposely break the organization up. And regarding the last 2, Kofodinas notes down that these were not written by 17 November members, but they are not related to secret services. Well, you can notice that if you close read them, because they totally have a different style and they talk about entirely different things than the group used to. So here I displayed the basic corpus statistics as a part of our preliminary research. They're organized in 3 different columns. The first one represents the statistics of the overall corpus. The second one is about the original, and the third one is about the disputed proclamations. Well, I think that someone can, with an unaided eye, notice that there are quite a lot of differences between the disputed and the original ones. For example, if you see the standardized TTR, it's 52.1 when coming to the disputed ones, and 49.24 when we're talking about the original ones. And there is like a reverse analogy here when we are talking about the mean sentence length. We can see that the original is 26.25, while the disputed ones are 22.96. So as a part of our preliminary research, we've also tried to extract the patterns of the diachronic evolution of word frequency. And I will help you with the Greek translation here, because as you can see, this first line corresponds to politiki, which means politics in Greece. It's a standard, I think it's a stable and standard line here. And all the other 3 have to do with some famous Greek parties, such as PASOK. PASOK is the Social Democratic Party, New Democracy, and ND, as you can see here with the purple one, is the Liberal Conservative Political Party in Greece, and KKE is the Communist Party of Greece. So you can see here that this period of 80s is actually related to, I don't know, a high politically oriented rate due to the socio-economical issues of that time, but it has like a decreasing tendency towards 2000, which is actually rational because we are just before the arrest of the teams and the dismantling of the group. Here, as a second graph, we can see words such as capitalism with this pink one, or socialism, the green line, and of course, West, which is actually a very basic pattern and topic when coming to texts like this because of their revolutionary and social character. So we move forward and see a few more. Well, here LA is for the word laos, which means people. Agonas is the word struggle, party, organization. And here we have America, West, and USA that present an increasing tendency. I think that we are close to the Iraq war here, so that might be easily explained. So here we are. Well, what we actually tried to do here was to see how the authorship of the disputed proclamations behave in a preliminary level. So what we did was to calculate the frequency traces of the 1,000 most frequent words across the decades. Here is the decade of 70s, 80s. So we tried to do that, and each line corresponds to the frequency trajectory of each word as it has been calculated diachronically. So I think that it is evident from the present diagram that word frequencies, they do have a chaotic but still structured somehow variation across the decades. And what we did afterwards was that we tried to insert the word frequencies of the disputed texts. So here, I think we can all see a major disruption. So there is a highly irregular word trajectory disturbance at this point of the disputed text, which is actually the 90s decade, as you can all see. So, well, this might imply that the authors of the disputed proclamations might use the same vocabulary and are familiar with those group terms. But however, I think that there is a clear discrimination about the way they use it. So this graph argues that the specific texts were probably written by someone who tried to simulate the vocabulary of the organization, but without fully acquiring the respective words frequency profile. So what we did was that we tried to apply, as you already know, applied unsupervised techniques and methods for experimentation in order to answer our research questions below. We've tried to find out if there are traces of common authors in all these proclamations, and then investigate whether the 8 disputed proclamations belong to the authors of 17 November. So in this study, we utilized a number of well-known stylometric methods related to cosine distance applied to 1,000 most frequent word unigrams, bigrams, and trigrams, and of course character engrams such as bigrams, trigrams, and fourgrams, which actually worked really good and efficiently for us. So no need to know, but I will unnecessarily repeat the method that we used. So it's the delta method, which is actually one of the most robust distance measures for authorship attribution. And it's been shown to render very useful results in different text genres and languages. It's based on the frequency of the n most frequent words of a corpus, and these frequencies are normalized and then converted to z-scores. So these scores are converted into a table of distances between documents in which high values show the document pairs are similar to each other, and the low values show that pairs of documents are highly similar. And then we, of course, try to build a dendrogram and represent our data using the hierarchical cluster analysis. So, okay, I have selected some of the results, actually the ones that perform better. For example, you can see here how character trigrams work. Most of the disputed proclamations are clustered together, not to mention what happens when we're talking about 2000. I think it's a totally different thing. And here are the character fourgrams in the whole corpus. And well, this is actually the best part where you can see all the disputed proclamations clustered together. So I think that they are stylometrically similar and they imply common authorship. Okay, So these are the results of the first part of our research, and we're moving to the second one, which is actually a gender identification problem, and has to do with the contribution of women to 17 November. Well, there is a lot being said about women on 17 November because there are 4 mysterious women, 3 of them are already interrogated, but there is one of them, also known as the grandmother. That's the name of 17 November. And she remains anonymous until today. The eyewitnesses spoke of suspicious moves of women before or during terrorist attacks. And actually, we have the idea that women either participated as precursors to prepare terrorist actions by gathering information, renting apartments that served as bases or observatories, or they participated by taking risks and covering up attack perpetrators. For example, eyewitnesses spoke of couples being at the place of the attacks, and I don't know, there is a lot of obscure theories going on here. So in order to detect the author's gender in our proclamations, we actually developed a gender model based on texts of known authorship that belong to either terroristic or extra left parties. All these texts were easily to be retrieved, and they are publicly available in the media. In the media is a left-oriented Greek forum, and some of them were given to us actually by police, at least the ones that have to do with male authorship. So the training corpus was based on 266 texts written by male authors and 83 texts written by female authors, which is quite an imbalanced data set. All of the texts of the training corpus belong to individuals that are on the same ideological political position with 17 November, or they're even sympathetic to their actions. So in order to populate our sample size and neutralize the text size imbalance and create more data points, we split the initial corpus to equal size chunks, 200 words each. The final corpus contained 1,131 text chunks from female authors and 1,440 text chunks from male authors. And actually, since the female authors wrote lengthier texts, splitting the text in equal sizes, I think that also assisted that the gender category imbalance could be observed initially. So what we did afterwards was to find the model that works better for us, and we should actually move away from specific single category linguistic features and focus on composite representations of the linguistic production. So what we needed was actually engrams of increased size and engrams of different linguistic levels in increasing order, which is actually based on the theoretical motivation of double articulation. As you can see here. It will happen. Okay, so character and biograms correspond to phonology and morphology, while character trigrams deal with morphology clearly. Word unigrams are both morphological and semantical features, and word biograms have also to do with syntax and semantics. So we try to combine support vector machine with this AMNP product in order to produce a robust attribution methodology which is flexible enough to adapt to different attribution categories without altering the feature space. And we can, as a result, use the same feature sets and algorithm in non-profiling tasks each time, change only the classification label of the same data set. So that's what we actually did here. We calculated the orphan multi-level n-gram profiles by using the most frequent words, the character biograms, character trigrams, and word biograms. And of course, train a support vector machine by using a polynomial kernel. And after all data were scaled to Z values, so that all values were normalized in Z scale, we evaluated the SVM performance using 10-fold cross validation. So using the correct R packets, our polynomial SVM model was optimized across its 3 basic parameters, and the highest accuracy obtained in the cross-validated training dataset was 0.84, which means that applying this model to the testing data, we get a prediction of male gender authorship to all the testing documents. So let's go to some of the conclusions. First of all, it seems so that the 90s disputed proclamations, they are stylometrically homogeneous, and they do separate themselves significantly from the rest of the undisputed proclamations. So there are a few, I don't know, alternative explanations here, but it's all theoretical. Either they've been written by a 17 November member who claimed his disagreement with some of the group's actions, but still is quite familiar with the group's vocabulary and terms, or they are written by someone who imitated the group's writing style in vocabulary, spelling, and lexical phrases. So if we take into consideration the whole political background and context of that period, this should work. And we strongly believe that women of 17 November probably haven't highly contributed to writing proclamations. They might have helped with other ways, but not played a huge part when coming to the written imprints of the group. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you all.